This is the third part in the series of tutorials for constructing our target app. It is also the beginning of stage 2. So just like stage 1, I'm reading from the guide that is found in your course shell, and I have what we did in stage 1 open. So step 1, start from where we ended. On stage 1, there's no need to duplicate or create a new project. We just keep adding to where we left off in lab 5, which is, stage 1. What we're going to do is create another empty game object, and its name is going to be target container. So if by the end of stage 1 we were busy building the bullet, the missile, whatever, now we're going to build the target. So empty game object, target container. Again, in this case, it's not really important if it's uppercase, lowercase, with space, without space. It's just a descriptor. It's not a script. And as you might be guessing, we are constructing this. Let me reset the transform. It's an empty game object because it's going to contain several objects, and once it's fully constructed, it's going to become a prefab, just like the wall, just like the bullet. Reset transform. Inside it, as a child, we're going to create a cylinder. Important, remove its capsule collider and instead create a mesh collider. Let's do it and then we'll explain what we're doing. So as a child means I'll click on it, right click, 3D object, cylinder. This is going to be the shape of the target. And before we do anything else to it, we're going to give it the name target viz. And as you can see, for some reason, which I never understood why, let me get close to it. Cylinders come with a capsule collider. So when I try to edit the collider, you can see that it's like a capsule inside, which means physically it'll act like a capsule, which means it has like round edges on the top. I don't want that. I wanted to have the collider that has the same shape, a cylinder, like flat tops. So I'm going to delete, click on those 3 little dots, remove components. Now it has no collider. And then add component, start typing mesh, mesh, find mesh collider. And the mesh collider means that it's going to now have a collider that's shaped the way it looks. So it's going to collide with its visibility. The way it looks is the way it's going to collide, like most objects in reality. Let's see if there's any other. Check convex. Convex means that that it recognizes the roundness of it. See how it's like recognizes the roundness of the object. Good. Next. Change the name of cylinder to target viz. We already did it. And then we're going to change its properties very little. 1 on the Y position and 1.3 to 1.3. Let's see what that would change. So first of all, let's see that it's reset. Target viz. Target container also reset. Target viz. 1 on the height. Y, it's going to move it up. But then 1.3 x, I'm going to show you. That made it kind of like, squishy because it's like 1.3. 2 on the Y will make it tall. So now it's, it's standing on the floor. And another 1.3 on the Z will make it round again. So if I move away from it, you can see that it's still round on the top and bottom and tall. That's going to be the shape of our target. Again, later on to be replaced with whatever other, shape we want it to look like. So we did this. To target viz, add the component constant force. We already did that. Now, why does the target need a constant force? You'll see. It'll also add a rigid body, and we're going to give it these values. So, target viz, add component, constant force. As it said before, it adds the rigid body. And I think on the rigid body this time we're not even changing anything. 1, 0, no, no, no. We're even keeping the gravity because we want the target to lay on the floor. So there's nothing changing here, but the constant force, again, it's going to be all 0 except relative torque. Torque is rotation. 4, 30, and 4. Let me explain. I do want this target to kind of spin around, so that's going to be the 30. It's got like a force of 30 spinning it around its y-axis, and it's going to look something like this. And I also wanted to make a little bit of a movement left and right, kind of be a little drunk. So this is the 4 on the relative torque x and the 4 on the relative torque z. And let's see if we can see it. It's going to do a little, see it? It's a little movement. Now, later on, we can kind of play around with it. And if we increase these values, let's say if I put too much, let's say like 8 and 8, it means that it's going to look to still spin, but look like it's being pushed around, which is a little too much because it's in the danger of falling down, and then I'll never hit it. So I'm going to start with 4 and 4. So 4, 30, and 4. 30 is basically how fast it's going to spin around its y-axis. Next. We're going to give it a material. Why do we need a material even now? Because as you can see in the game window, even when I play, I can see it spinning here, but here it's very hard to see it spinning because it's got the default smooth material. It's very hard to see that it's actually spinning. So if we give it a material that has some kind of texture, it's going to be a lot more visible, the spinning. So in my materials, create new material, target matte. I'm going to give it to the cylinder, target viz, and then use the albedo target texture and the normal target texture normal. So those are assets you got from the teacher's assets. So in the material, albedo target texture, it's that yellow with a question mark, and just, because I like normals, it's not a necessity. Target texture normal, which makes it like, little, 3D-ish. The point is that now, if I play, I can see it spinning. And this is the target we're going to have to hit. Next. To target viz, not target container, we're going to add a component, a script, and the script's name is going to be, I like copying it, that way I can't, misspell it, called explode when hit. Exact name, and we're going to save the script like we always did before to my scripts. So I'm going to fold the other components just to have room. Add component, all the way down, new script, name of the script is explode when hit. I think the name speaks for itself. The target will explode when it's hit. Create and add. It's going to be saved into my script. See how it defaults to it because that's the last place we saved other scripts. Let's explain how this is going to work. This is the target container. At first, it's going to have, we're going to see only the target viz, but another child of the target container is going to be an explosion. And when the target viz is hit, it's going to disable itself and instead enable an explosion, making it look like the cylinder exploded. The way it's done is something like this. Make target container a prefab, not target viz. Not target viz, it's parent container. By dragging it into my prefabs folder, it should get the blue prefab icon. It's your third prefab. Then double click on it to open it for editing. So my prefabs, we should have 2 of them already. Target container, not target viz, becomes a prefab, and then I'll double click on it and it's open. And now we can do some further editing to it. This mode is like being inside the prefab, editing only the prefab. Double click on it to open it for editing. Once prefab open for editing, add an explosion as a second child of the prefab. You can find it at the teacher's assets, standard assets, particle systems, prefabs. So the teacher's assets, the standard assets, particle systems, prefabs, and here is the explosion. Not explosion mobile, but just explosion, and I'm dragging it in, and now target container has two children, the explosion and the target viz. What do we do with the explosion? A few, let's say, customizations, because right now it's got a little too much. For instance, the explosion has got some kind of like a throwing power that if I let it explode, see, it throws things around. I don't want that. I want it to, just be visual, because the target itself will already be, destroyed. Not, flying around, but destroyed. So what we're going to do to customize it, we're going to definitely first reset its transform, because it comes with a pretty weird one. It puts it at the center of the target. Then the hierarchy should look something like this. Good. In the explosion inspector, disable a script called explosion physics, particle system multiplier, and the light. Explosion. We're going to disable this one, and the light. See, there's like an extra light here that I don't need. That comes with the explosion. And by the way, I can disable them or delete them, but I'd rather disable them. Unfold explosion, and you will see that it's actually made out of a bunch of elements like trails and smoke and so on. If I play, you'll be able to see that there's a flash and there's a smoke and there's like, sparks and stuff like that. We don't need all of it. So what we're going to do, unfold explosion and disable shockwave. For right now, I need everything but the shockwave. The shockwave is this. See, it's like barely visible. I don't need it. It's like a flash of light. I don't need it. We can always bring it back. Good. Then disable shockwave and to explosion, the parent. We're going to add an audio source, because right now it's just a silent explosion. The name of the clip or the audio generator would be explosion mixdown, and we're going to keep play on awake checked, because I want, as soon as the explosion is instantiated, for the sound to play. So explosion, add component, audio source. The clip or the audio generator will be explosion mixdown. Let me see if we can hear it. That's the one. Explosion mixdown, and I am going to keep play on awake on. So that means that if the target actually gets hit and the explosion gets enabled, I'll hear sound. Now notice that the cylinder is still there, but the script is going to make this one disappear, and instead the explosion it'll look like, it exploded into oblivion. The next step is, because we did quite a few customizations to the explosion, make modified explosion a prefab by dragging it into my prefab. It was a prefab, but we're going to make it another prefab. If the dialog appears, says, hey, it's already a prefab, I'm going to say, no, I want to make it into my own original prefab. And just not to get it confused with the original, we're going to change its name and the name of the instance to my explosion. So first of all, I'm going to go to the folder my prefabs. This is going to be our fourth one. I'm going to drag explosion, not any of its children, but just explosion, and get that dialog. Do you want it to be an original prefab? Yeah. And instead of the name explosion, it's going to be called both as a prefab, but also here, its instance, my explosion. It's based on the prefab that we got, but we made quite a few changes to it. Very important, disable explosion in the target container. So once the explosion is nice, we're disabling it. So the first thing when the user sees the target, it's nothing but a spinning cylinder. But when it gets hit, its own script that we're going to write is going to disable this shape and instead enable the explosion. But initially, the explosion is like hidden, waiting to be awoken. The last element that we need to create is going to be what's called the miss impact. What I'm going to do is stop this part of the tutorial, and we're going to do that in the next part of the tutorial. So we got to step 15, where we disable the explosion in the target container and return to the sample scene with this little arrow. The other thing it says is to delete the instance of target container. We used it here to build it, but now we don't need it in the scene. As soon as we have it in the prefabs, we don't need it anymore. If we ever need to re-edit it, we'll edit it as a prefab. Delete. So it's only in the prefabs folder. I will see you in the next part of the tutorial.